Remembers the Blue Origin crest that Jeff Bezos presented to the world in 2016, just months before the 2017 eclipse. Now, why am I sharing this with you? What does the crest mean, and what does it have to do with the coming eclipse on April 8th? I promise you, if y'all stick around, I'm gonna tie some pieces together that I don't see anyone else really talking about, and I genuinely feel led by the Holy Spirit to share this with everybody, so please pay attention. The first thing I want to show you is this. I can't find a high enough resolution image of this. Y'all can search if you want to zoom in on that and see exactly what that is, but it looks like the Earth splitting open. Some of you might say, no, look at it. You can see the rockets taking off. That's the location of Blue Origin in Texas where it's taking off from, but it's not. But it is, however, directly over Waco, Texas, which is where the eclipse is going to be lasting the longest in the United States. And also oddly close to where the 2023 and the April 8th eclipse intersect. Oh, and let's not forget the clock at the bottom. That's completely out of time. Now this, of course, is for entertainment, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, so none of this is true, and I'm just sharing just fun content with you so we can all have a good time and laugh. Now, in order for me to help you understand what I'm trying to actually share with you all, I've got to take you way back. What if I told you all that the people in power in this world genuinely believe that there is not only a moon and a sun, but a black sun? Now, it's hard to find a lot of accurate information on the black sun on the interwebs because that term has been directly associated with a group of World War II military, you-know-what, Germans, and they were very much a group that practiced and followed the occult. They had a couple of different logos, but one of them I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Now, that logo was obviously tainted with all of the things that took place in World War II, so it was simplified, and we see it in a lot of places these days. Now, if you look at the Mercator's map of the early 1600s, you'll see what their depiction of the North Pole really was. Is it starting to make a little bit of sense? Now, in the center of these four rivers is depicted a rock. I'm sure I'm going to slaughter the pronunciation of this, but it says Rupes Nigra on there. And what that means, the translation of that from Latin to English, is black rock. Think about that. Ironically, there's an author from the 1600s named John Milton, and this was his depiction of hell. Now fast forward to 1967 and 1968, and the ESA 3 and ESA 7 satellites took these pictures directly over the North Pole. You can still find these online. Now check out how an alleged Mason believes this black sun works here in this realm. And keep in mind, I'm not telling you guys this is absolute fact. I'm telling you that all of the people in power believe this.
At the beginning of the video, he shows a CD or a disc. He immediately draws the geometric shape of an oblate spheroid. We can see how he separates the oblate spheroid with a disc that has a hole in the center. Then, below, he draws a circle with a swastika inside and immediately paints it completely black. From this black circle, rays come out and 3 rays pass through the hole in the center. He draws reliefs on the edge of the hole and writes North Pole. And above this hole inside what would be the celestial vault he draws a star, the polar star or Polaris. He marks 2 points and connects them in a circle and writes, equator. He draws 2 lines that go down from the polar star to the 2 points. The lines form a triangle. He highlights 2 of the rays coming out of the black sun and also forms a triangle, but vice versa. And he writes, as above so below. It's one of the 7 principles of Hermes Trismegistus. It appears on the Emerald Tablet and then in the Kybalion. He erases the intersections and draws the sun and moon. And he makes a gesture of rotation. He draws 2 arrows to show the distance of the moon and the sun. Then he measures the diameter of the sun and moon, being the same with a diameter of 32 miles or 51 kilometers. He draws continents on the surface and on the other side as well. He points both sides and writes, same. Below he writes summer land. He draws rays coming out of the black sun and writes, northern lights.
Pretty wild, right? That would explain the aurora borealis, wouldn't it? Those crazy lights being shown out of the North Pole, visible in all of these different places. Speaking of the aurora borealis, how many of you all remember the movie Frequency?
Once in a decade, massive solar storms invade our atmosphere, disrupting global communications.
John, it's your dad's old ham radio. Go over to the den, huh? Plug it in.
What'd you say your name was? Frank Sullivan. Is this some kind of joke?
That will allow John Sullivan to talk to his father, who's been dead for 30 years.
Now, in that movie, every single time there was an aurora borealis, and you can watch it for yourself, it shows this aurora borealis, and all of these weird things would start to happen, and dude ends up communicating with his dad from like 30 years earlier. Knowing everything that I just shared with you, let me show you a poster from Frequency. If you just got goosebumps, then you understand. Let me show you again, and think about the photo of the North Pole that I showed you from the satellites in 1967 and 1968. Yes, there's the one eye symbolism, but do you see the aurora shining out of that black hole up to the sky? And it's weird because on another movie poster, it shows this in the sky. Now, any of us that have done even a little bit of digging about this eclipse on April 8th understand that the moon is not anywhere close to the sun that day. And so it's not the moon that's going to be covering that sun. So what is it? It's my belief, after much prayer and consideration about this whole topic, that those at the very top in power are absolutely doing everything they can to open up portals that day to the darkness. Portals to things you all can't even fathom. There's going to be a part 2 where I explain all of that. Those in power, they know about all of this. They knew this was coming. They know there's going to be a rare, tiny little glimpse, a tiny little time frame for them to do the things they need to do to open this gateway.